Amara hit the pavement hard, stumbling as her palms scraped against the cold Seoul concrete. Her breath tore from her lungs in sharp bursts, her other hand gripping her belly as if she could shield her unborn child with sheer will. Behind her, the hum of a black SUV grew louder, too close, too fast. The moment she turned the corner, headlights flashed and a voice shouted in a language she barely understood. She didn't dare look back. She pushed forward, every step trembling. She didn't know who these men were. She didn't know why they were hunting her. All she knew was the terrifying message on her phone. The child belongs to the syndicate. If you're listening to this story and your heart is already racing, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to help more people find stories like this. Because what happens next changes everything. Hours earlier, life was simple, or at least predictable. The small studio apartment smelled faintly of shea butter and citrus soap, soothing and familiar. Amara Nwosu had been practicing her breathing exercises, her rounded belly rising gently beneath her lavender dress. She was 6 months along, alone in a foreign country, and still adjusting to the ache of heartbreak. She'd left Nigeria to chase her dreams, and somehow ended up with a baby and no father in sight. She positioned her phone, smiled softly, and snapped a picture of her baby bump. She wanted to send it to her cousin back home. A little joy in a week that had felt far too heavy. She typed the number quickly. A tiny mistake, a single wrong digit. The message sent. She didn't notice at first. She hummed to herself as she poured a cup of tea, her mind drifting through memories of her ex-boyfriend. She tried not to think of how he'd walked away without explanation. She tried even harder not to think of the one fleeting encounter she'd never told anyone about, the kind that kissed her memory like smoke. Her phone buzzed. She lifted it, smiling faintly, expecting a message full of emojis from her cousin. Instead, she saw a reply from an unknown number. "Where did you get this number?" Her smile faded. She frowned, assuming it was a wrong number annoyance. She typed back politely, "Sorry, wrong person." Before her finger lifted from the screen, another message arrived. "That child you're carrying was never meant to exist." The phone slipped from her hand and clattered against the table. A chill wrapped around her spine like ice-tipped fingers. The room suddenly felt too small. She pressed her hand to her belly protectively. "What kind of sick joke is this?" she whispered. But the fear didn't fade. It grew. Hours later, as she walked home from her evening shift, she spotted a black car idling near the curb. Tinted windows, the engine running. She walked faster. The car pulled forward slowly, matching her pace. Her heartbeat quickened. She turned sharply into a side street, only to see another car at the opposite end. Her throat tightened. She hurried home, locking the door behind her. She tried to calm her breath, tried to tell herself she was imagining things, but then her phone buzzed again. Running only makes it worse. Her legs nearly gave out. No, this can't be real," she whispered. She called the police. By the time officers arrived, the street was empty. No suspicious vehicles, no signs of anyone watching her. The officers shrugged. Maybe a prank. Maybe someone hacked her number. Maybe she was stressed because of the pregnancy. But as they left, she glanced out the window and saw a man in a suit standing across the street, staring up, unmoving. Her pulse hammered in her ears. She didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she packed a small bag. She had to go, anywhere but here. She rushed down the stairs, hand gripping her belly. She didn't even make it halfway down the street before everything changed. 3 men in dark suits stepped into her path. She froze. One of them spoke her name with eerie calm. "Come with us." She backed away. "Please, I don't know who you are." Another figure stepped forward from behind them, taller, sharper, more composed. a man whose expression was cold enough to freeze blood. His presence alone made the air feel heavier. Han Ji-sung stepped into the light, and even without knowing his name, she sensed danger radiating from him. A presence like thunder before a storm. He studied her belly first, then her trembling face. His voice was soft, but sharpened with something lethal. "You sent me that picture." She shook her head violently. "It was a mistake. I swear, I typed the wrong number." He stepped closer, his eyes fixed on her with unsettling precision. "Who told you to send it?" "No one," she cried. "Please, I don't understand." His eyes narrowed. He lifted a hand, signaling his men to hold. Then his voice dropped lower, darker. "That child you carry..." His jaw tightened. "It is not supposed to exist." Amara pressed herself against a wall. "Why are you saying that? What do you want from me?" But then something unexpected happened. Ji-sung stared at her belly with a look she couldn't decipher. Shock? Recognition? Fury? He inhaled sharply, his composure cracking for a second. "It can't be," he murmured. "My brother?" Her eyebrows knit together. "Your brother? What does your brother have to do with me?" Ji-sung's eyes rose to hers, their coldness replaced with something far worse, certainty. "You're carrying Han Min-Jun's child." Her mind blanked. "Who? That's not possible." Her voice shook because she remembered. She remembered one night, one man, one moment she had buried deep. Ji-sung watched her reaction and nodded slowly, as if confirming a puzzle piece. "Yes, you know exactly who I mean." Amara's chest tightened. She shook her head, trying to breathe. I don't understand." Ji-sung motioned to his men. "Bring her. She needs to hear everything before it's too late." As they surrounded her, Amara felt her world collapse. The danger wasn't random. The messages weren't pranks. Someone wanted her unborn child, and she didn't even know why. The moment she stepped into the waiting car, she knew her life would never be the same again. The car doors slammed shut around Amara, muffling the city noise as the vehicle sped forward. Her breath came fast, uneven, as she clutched her belly, feeling her baby shift anxiously beneath her trembling hand. She didn't dare speak at first. She couldn't trust her voice not to break. Across from her, Han Ji-sung watched her in unnerving silence. His posture remained still, composed, like a man accustomed to complete control. The dim interior lights cast shadows along his sharp cheekbones, highlighting eyes that seemed to see through her soul. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, her voice cracked through the tension. "Please, just tell me what you want. I haven't done anything." Ji-sung tapped a finger against his knee. Slow, thoughtful, patient in a way that felt more threatening than violence. "You did something when you sent me that picture." "It was an accident," she insisted. "I didn't know who you were." "That part doesn't matter anymore." His gaze dropped to her stomach again. "What matters is the truth, and you need to hear it." Her throat tightened. "Then tell me." Ji-sung exhaled softly through his nose. "My brother, Han Min-Jun, disappeared a year ago. Before he vanished, he sent me a message, a final instruction." He paused, as if measuring the weight of the words before releasing them. "Protect the woman carrying his heir." Her fingers dug into the fabric of her dress. "That doesn't make sense. I'm sure the father is..." She couldn't say it, couldn't say Kelechi's name. Not because she believed it, but because she needed it to be true. Ji-sung leaned forward, elbows resting lightly on his knees. "Look at me." She didn't want to, but something about his tone, firm yet oddly gentle, made her lift her eyes. "What do you remember of my brother?" Her lips parted, confusion flickering across her face. "I told you, I don't know him." "You're lying," he said softly. The air thinned. "I'm not." she insisted, but her voice betrayed her. Ji-sung's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. Min-Jun worked with a charity clinic here in Seoul. You volunteered there for one day last spring, correct? Her stomach dropped. Yes, but... And that day, you met a man who treated you kindly, who spoke to you in a way no one else here ever had, who made you feel... seen. Her voice caught. How do you know that? Ji-sung tapped his phone, showing a photo of Min-Jun, smiling gently at someone off-screen. A smile that carried warmth Ji-sung did not possess. A smile she remembered despite trying to forget. Because remembering hurt. That day, Ji-sung continued, you and Min-Jun left together for a volunteer event. And then afterwards, she shut her eyes tightly. Stop. It was only one night, she whispered, voice breaking. I didn't know. Ji-sung sat back. He did. She blinked, confused. What? Min-Jun knew you were pregnant before you did. He sent me proof. He opened a secure folder on his phone. Messages appeared. Blurred ultrasound images, lab results, even a cryptic voice memo from Min-Jun saying, if anything happens to me, protect her. Protect the child. Amara's hands trembled violently. I didn't even know at that time, she murmured, tears prickling behind her eyes. How could he? Ji-sung studied her closely. My brother was many things, impulsive, emotional, reckless, but he was never wrong about intuition, especially when it involved someone he cared about. A single tear slid down Amara's cheek. She wiped it away quickly, not wanting to show weakness. But Ji-sung wasn't watching her tears. He was watching her belly, the silent rise and fall. When he spoke again, his voice softened in a way that startled her. My brother wouldn't have asked me to protect you if you were nothing. But someone else wants the baby gone, he added, the softness evaporating instantly. Her heart lurched. Who? He looked away, jaw tightening. Someone with power. Someone who sees your child as a threat. The car slowed, turning into a dim underground garage. The doors opened as guards stepped forward. Amara flinched, gripping her seatbelt as if it could anchor her. Where are we? What is this? A safe location, Ji-sung said. Then, after a pause, for now. The men flanked her as she stepped out, their expressions unreadable. Ji-sung walked beside her but didn't touch her, not even to steady her. His restraint unsettled her more than aggression would have. The hallway they entered was sleek, sterile, lit with low white lights. Doors lined the walls, all secured with biometric locks. The deeper they walked, the heavier the air grew. In here, Ji-sung said, opening a room with a simple suite. Bed, sofa, kitchenette. Comfortable but isolating. Amara turned to him, voice shaking. Are you going to hurt me? His reaction was subtle. A faint crease in his brow as if the idea annoyed him. If I wanted to hurt you, you wouldn't be standing. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. His eyes held hers. You're here because someone much worse is searching for you. Who? She whispered. Ji-sung hesitated just long enough to make her stomach twist. Han Do-Gwan. Another unfamiliar name. Who is that? He looked toward the door, almost as if checking whether someone was listening. My uncle. The one who raised us. The man who controls the Council of Elders. And he wants my baby? He wants all heirs eliminated, starting with yours. Her knees almost buckled. Why? What did my child ever do to him? Exist, Ji-sung replied. A cold silence stretched between them. Then he said something that chilled her even more. He's already found where you live. Her breath caught. What? Ji-sung's tone stayed maddeningly calm. You were followed for weeks. My uncle's men thought the baby belonged to my brother. They just didn't have proof. But when you sent me that picture, everything changed. Amara shook her head. No. I didn't send it knowingly. But you sent it. His voice hardened. And that mistake saved your life. She stared at him, heart in her throat. Saved me? If you had sent that picture to anyone else, Ji-sung said quietly, you and the child would already be dead. A knock cut through the room. His men stood outside. Boss, it's time. Ji-sung nodded to them, then looked back at her. Rest. You'll need strength for what comes next. What comes next? She whispered. He paused at the doorway. War. The door shut behind him. Alone in the silence, Amara pressed her hands to her belly, her voice trembling. What have I gotten us into? Her phone buzzed. She froze. It was a number she recognized. Her ex, Kelechi. The message chilled her blood. Amara, we need to talk. It's about your baby. And Min-Jun. Her world spun. Everything was unraveling. Amara stared at the message, her heart thudding painfully against her ribs. Her ex's name, Kelechi, lit up the screen like a warning flare. She hadn't heard from him in months, not since he'd walked out without explanation, leaving her to piece her life together alone. Now he was suddenly reaching out and mentioning the one name she wished she could forget. Her fingers shook as she clutched the phone. No, you don't get to come back now, she whispered. Not when everything is collapsing. The door of the safe room remained shut, but she felt eyes on her, Ji-sung's men stationed outside, silent shadows with weapons tucked beneath their jackets. She didn't know if they were protecting her or monitoring her. She sank onto the bed, trying to breathe. Her baby kicked lightly, as if sensing her distress. It's okay, she murmured to her belly. I'll protect you, I promise. But her promises felt small in a world of Mafia threats, vanishing brothers, and secrets she didn't understand. Her phone buzzed again. Kelechi. Amara, please. You're in danger. I didn't know they'd involve you. Her stomach twisted. Who was he talking about? Her fingers hovered over the screen. Should she reply? Should she ignore him? Was this a trap? She swallowed hard and typed. What do you know about Min-Jun? The message sent. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Silence. Her pulse hammered. A soft knock sounded at her door. She startled, nearly dropping her phone. Amara? A guard said from outside. Boss wants to see you. She hesitated, wiping her sweaty hands against her dress before opening the door. The guard nodded once and escorted her down a narrow hallway. Every footstep echoed with tension she couldn't shake. When she entered the room, Han Ji-sung stood before a map spread across a table, Seoul, marked with red and black pins. His men lingered in the background, murmuring quietly before falling silent at her arrival. Ji-sung didn't look up immediately. You should be resting. I can't rest, she said, voice shaking. Not with all this happening. He raised his head, studying her expression. You received a message. Her breath caught. How do you know? Your reaction. His gaze sharpened. From whom? She hesitated. Kelechi. A muscle ticked in Ji-sung's jaw. Show me. Amara's fingers tightened around her phone. Why? So you can send your men after him? His stare remained cold. He's involved, one way or another. She stepped back, instinctively shielding her belly. You don't get to decide everything about my life. Ji-sung exhaled sharply, frustration flashing across his face. This isn't about your life. It's about survival. Which is my life, she snapped. My baby's life. They stared at each other, tension crackling like electricity. Finally, she held out the phone. Ji-sung took it, his eyes scanning the messages. Something darkened in his expression. He knows about Min-Jun. His voice dropped, low and dangerous. That means he's been in contact with my uncle. Her throat dried. So Kelechi betrayed me? Not just you, Ji-sung said. He betrayed Min-Jun. And that betrayal is likely why my brother disappeared. Amara sucked in a breath. What are you saying? Ji-sung turned to a drawer, pulling out a file. He hesitated before handing it to her. You need to see this. Her hands trembled as she opened the file. Inside were surveillance photos. Kelechi entering buildings at night. Kelechi meeting with unfamiliar men. Kelechi exchanging envelopes. And then, her breath hitched. A photo of Kelechi speaking with Han Do-Gwan, the man Ji-sung had said wanted her baby dead. No, she whispered. This can't be real. Ji-sung's voice softened. My uncle used Kelechi to track Min-Jun, and when Min-Jun disappeared, he used him to track you. Her knees weakened. She stumbled back, sinking into a chair. But Kelechi told me he loved me. Ji-sung's jaw clenched. Love doesn't look like betrayal. Tears blurred her vision. She had always known. Something was wrong about the way Kelechi had left, but she never imagined this. Ji-sung stepped closer, his voice steady but not unkind. My uncle will stop at nothing. Now that he knows whose child you carry, he will escalate. Amara wiped her tears angrily. Then why am I still alive? For one reason, Ji-sung said. Because you sent that picture to me instead of my uncle. She looked up, eyes shining with disbelief. Why does that matter? Because I don't follow his orders, Ji-sung said quietly. Not anymore. His words sent a strange, disorienting ripple through her. Was he confessing loyalty to her? To his brother? To the unborn child? Before she could speak, alarms blared through the compound. Red lights flashed overhead. Ji-sung stiffened. Stay behind me. What's happening? She whispered, panic rising. He grabbed a radio. Report. A frantic voice answered, static crackling. Sector C breached. We have enemy movement, armed, multiple targets. Gunshots exploded in the background. Amara gasped, clutching her belly. Ji-sung cursed under his breath. He found us faster than expected. Who? She cried. Han Do-Gwan, Ji-sung said. He's here. Amara's blood turned to ice. Ji-sung grabbed her arm, not harshly but urgently, and pulled her behind him as he barked orders to his men. Get her to the lower exit. 2 guards with her at all times. Men began moving, shouting instructions, loading weapons. The hallway filled with tension and the sharp click of ammunition. A guard rushed to her side. Ma'am, come with us. Ji-sung turned to her. Don't stop. Don't look back. And Amara, she met his gaze, breath shaking. If anything happens to me, he said, voice steady, you run, and you protect that child with everything you have. Her chest tightened painfully. Ji-sung. He didn't let her finish. A deafening explosion rocked the building, shaking dust from the ceiling. Move! He shouted. The guards pulled her into the corridor as flames flickered behind them. Amara forced her legs to run, though every instinct screamed to collapse. Her baby kicked again, frightened. Gunfire erupted. Men shouted. Footsteps thundered behind them. Her world became chaos. And somewhere in the smoke and terror, Amara realized a horrifying truth. If she stopped running now, she would die. Smoke choked the hallway as Amara ran, her lungs burning, her legs trembling beneath the weight of fear and adrenaline. The guards flanked her, pushing her forward through the chaos. Behind them, gunshots cracked through the air like thunder. Every explosion felt like the world ending. She stumbled as the ground shook again, gripping the wall for balance. Please, my baby, slow down, she gasped. One guard steadied her. Just a little farther, ma'am? Stay with us. But the explosion behind them grew. Louder, closer. A fireball burst through a doorway, sending heat rushing over her back. She screamed, ducking instinctively. Shrapnel rained down. One guard pushed her to the floor, shielding her with his body. He didn't get back up. The remaining guard dragged her to her feet. Move! Tears blurred her vision. She forced herself forward, hand pressed to her belly as her child kicked in terror. "Hold on," she whispered. "Hold on for me, baby." The guard shoved open a metal door. Cool night air rushed in, a shocking contrast to the inferno behind them. "Go!" he barked. They sprinted into the alley. More gunmen appeared at the far end, Do-Gwan's men, judging by their armbands. The guard stepped in front of her, drawing his weapon. "Stay behind me!" The men raised their guns. Amara screamed, and then another shot rang out. Not from the alley, but behind the attackers. 3 of the gunmen dropped instantly. More fell as a lone figure emerged from the shadows, walking with cold, lethal precision. Ji-sung. His face was smeared with dust and blood. His suit burned at the shoulder, but his eyes, those cold, cutting eyes, were unwavering. He moved through the alley like a storm-given human form, firing with terrifying accuracy. The attackers scattered, outmatched and unprepared. Within seconds, the alley fell silent again. Ji-sung lowered his weapon and strode toward her, chest heaving, gaze scanning her for injuries. "You're safe." She stared at him, throat thick with emotion. "You came for me." He didn't answer with words. Instead, he gently touched her shoulder, steadying her shaking body. "We need to leave. Now." The last guard opened the rear door of a black sedan. Amara climbed in, gripping the leather seat as nausea swirled through her stomach. Ji-sung slid in beside her. The car roared to life, racing away from the burning compound. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Flames reflected in the rear window like a living nightmare. Amara pressed a hand to her belly, trying to breathe. Finally, her voice broke free. "All this because of my baby?" Ji-sung stared straight ahead. "Because of what your baby means. And what does he mean?" she whispered. "Tell me the truth. All of it." Ji-sung turned toward her, expression grave. "My uncle wanted complete control of the syndicate. Min-Jun was the only one who could challenge him. Your child, Min-Jun's child, would one day inherit that power. Do-Gwan couldn't allow that. So he wanted to kill the baby?" "Yes." A shaky breath escaped her. "But Min-Jun, what happened to him?" Ji-sung looked away, jaw tightening. "He left to protect you. He knew my uncle would try to use you as leverage. He disappeared so they would stop hunting you." Amara's chest constricted. "Is he alive?" Ji-sung hesitated, and that hesitation answered everything. Her heart broke for the man she barely knew. The man who changed her life in one night. The man who left her with a child he'd never meet. She wiped her eyes. "So it's just me now?" "No." Ji-sung's voice deepened. "Not anymore." She looked at him, really looked at him. Beneath the cold exterior, beneath the steel and command, she saw the flicker of something human, something wounded. He continued, "Min-Jun asked me to protect you. That is the one promise I will never break." The car veered onto a bridge overlooking the river, leaving the chaos behind. The city lights shimmered through the windows. For the first time in hours, Amara breathed without choking. Her phone buzzed. She tensed, but it wasn't a threat. It was another message from Kelechi, a single line. "I'm sorry." Anger flared through her. "Pull over," she whispered. Ji-sung raised a brow. "Why?" "I need to end this, now." The driver obeyed. The car rolled to a stop. Amara stepped out, clutching her phone like an old wound. Ji-sung joined her silently. Amara typed with trembling hands. "You betrayed me. You betrayed Min-Jun. Stay away from me forever." She hit send. Then she blocked his number. She exhaled shakily. "I should have known. I should have seen it." Ji-sung's voice softened. "You trusted someone who didn't deserve you. That doesn't make you weak." She met his eyes. "Why are you helping me?" "Really?" For the first time, Ji-sung looked uncertain. as if the answer was heavier than any weapon he'd carried. "Because you are carrying my brother's child," he said quietly, "and because you didn't deserve any of this." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I don't know how to live after today." Ji-sung stepped closer, his voice steady as the night breeze. "You will live. You will raise your child, and no one, not my uncle, not the council, not the entire syndicate, will ever touch either of you again." A sense of finality washed over her. "What happens to your uncle?" Ji-sung's gaze hardened. "I'll handle him." "And what about us?" He held her stare, the tension thick between them. "Whatever you choose." She took a breath, her hand resting over her belly. "I choose safety. I choose peace. I choose a future for my baby." Ji-sung nodded once, accepting her truth. He opened the car door and guided her back inside. "Then I'll ensure you have all of it." The ride continued in silence, but the tension had shifted. The danger was behind them. The war was over. The syndicate would never come for her again. The car pulled up to a quiet residential district, far from the chaos of the city. A small private home waited, lights warm and welcoming. "This is yours," Ji-sung said. "A new start, no threats, no shadows, just life." Amara stepped out slowly, staring at the home that would shelter her child. Gratitude surged through her, overwhelming and unfamiliar. "Thank you," she whispered. Ji-sung bowed his head slightly. "Take care of the baby. That's all I ask." As he turned to leave, Amara called out, voice trembling. "Ji-sung." He looked back. "If you ever need a place that feels like home, you know where to find us." His eyes softened, almost imperceptibly. Then he walked back to the car, the night swallowing him as the engine faded into silence. Amara stood there, hand cradling her belly, surrounded by peace she thought she'd never feel again. Her baby kicked gently, like a promise. "We're safe now," she whispered. "We survived." And for the first time, she believed it. If you felt this story in your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Your support helps more people discover stories that stay with them long after they end.